so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.
Hablando un poco de lo que viene siendo lo que subió el League of Legends sobre campeones y la pretemporada 2023, ¿vale? Vamos a poner esto en pantalla completa. Y tu música y vamos a empezar.
I'm Ryan Reeve Morales, lead producer of gameplay on League.
Tengo muchas ganas de saber qué van a hacer. Pero bueno, creo que van a decir bastantes cosas que no voy a estar muy de acuerdo, la verdad. Espero que hagan además las cosas bien, porque ahora mismo el meta no me gusta y quita ganas de jugar.
Who is going to talk to you about the recent durability update as well as our plans for preseason.
Vamos a darle un poquito de caña.
So before we get into the new champions coming up this year, let's take a quick look back at the champions we've released in 2022 so far.
Vale, Seri, desbalanceada. Ni siquiera Río sabe qué hacer. Renata, otro campeón bastante desbalanceado. Velvet, bastante desbalanceado también. Nila también bastante desbalanceada, salió rota, lo nerfearon, una mierda. Y Udyr que va a venir dentro de poco, esperemos que sea decente el campeón y que no esté desbalanceado, si no tampoco va a volar.
Especially since he's been the first VGU that we've done that's had an ultimate skin. We appreciate you all being patient with us on this one, and hopefully the wait has been worth it.
Normal que se pare más en lo de Udyr, porque como uno salió así, pues tampoco la gente lo puede criticar.
So in addition to the new champions we've released this year, we've also been shipping a lot of mid-scope updates to various champions.
La de Yana, la E está bastante fuerte. De Ari, pues volvió completamente meta.
And recently, Sivir.
Tali estuvo roto también.
Because we slowed down the release of new champions, we've had a bit more time to ship smaller updates to champions on the roster that have fallen behind the pack.
Por ejemplo, Skarner no se le metió un rework a pesar de que no se juega, igual que Ivern y otros personajes, que habría que mirar más. Por ejemplo, Aurelion pues me parece normal que vaya a haber un rework.
We try to strengthen their fantasy even more, rather than reinvent it. So for Swain, we pushed his fantasy of an unkillable frontline mage to the max.
Está la mierda,
and for Ari,
andan cambiando cosas y no terminan de sacar nada que les salga rentable, ¿no?
We saw really great responses to these projects as well as healthy play rate spikes after their release.
Vamos a ver.
Given all of this, we want to keep pursuing mid-scope updates, and we already have a few champions we're exploring, including Nico and Syndra.
Vale, Neko y Lissandra. Normal, hay que reworkearlas o hacerle algo, porque esos campeones son miembros de
juego. So now let's talk about some projects I've been super excited to share with you. So later this year, we have a new top lane tank hailing from Shurima, who I briefly mentioned in the last champion roadmap. This new champion will introduce a part of Shurima that we haven't explored yet, the city of Nezuma.
Bueno, el tanque puede ser bastante interesante.
Nezuma is an oasis city-state in the southern outskirts of the desert, and unlike the rest of the people of Nezuma hard-fought struggle. Now, his unique Entofos out of its rare regenerating hide. Entofos are huge, blunt weapons that can be used defensively, but at any moment, he can shatter them, revealing carefully crafted blades capable of tearing through any foe in seconds. Soon after, the hide will regenerate back to its blunt form, so he can, like, bludgeon the crap out of you. It's honestly quite impressive to see.
Parece interesante por el tema de que van a hacer un tanque que seguramente desactive la forma tanque y pegue más. Un estilo así Ramos podría ser interesante.
You don't get that title for nothing. So after Kassanti, we will be releasing the highly anticipated Aurelian Soul CG. To remind everybody, a CGU, or Comprehensive Gameplay Update, is a new type of update we are testing out on
Aurelian Soul, que tenía muy buena pinta.
So the goal is to completely reimagine Asol's gameplay without changing his visuals or narrative at all. Since let's be honest, those aspects of Aurelian Soul are still amazing, even by today's standards. But I know what you're thinking. Less talking, Mr. Reeve, more action. And by action, we mean videos. Okay, fine. Twist my arm a little bit more, will you? Now keep in mind, the visuals are still a work in progress. One of the goals was to...
que hace esta, porque me viene al cable. ¿Por qué tenés que hacer eso? ¿Por qué? Contame a mí. A ver, ponte aquí. Y duerme un poco. Ay.
To enhance his dragon theme. And what do dragons do? Well, they breathe fire, of course.
Vale, me parece bien esto.
Allows him to breathe fire for as long as he has mana to do it. But let's not forget
Eso va a estar chulo
the
para
other thing
pushear.
dragons do. Fly. His new W allows him to take
Lo
to
W
the
puede estar
skies.
interesante.
But this time, he doesn't have to walk in a straight line for like ever. He can now fly with the push of a button. But really, let's be honest. He's a dragon. And if there's one thing more iconic than either flying or breathing fire, it's flying while breathing fire, which you can do by combining his Q and W. We did it. So after Aurelian Soul, we have a champion I've been literally dying to talk to you about. One of the things the League community hounds me about constantly is wanting to see more Darkin champions.
Sí, algo estilo
fans are like,
Thresh,
throw me a frickin' bone here. And believe you me, I'm right there with you, barking for some Darkin. Then one night, at around 2:34 a.m., I woke up in a fever sweat, and at that moment talked to the team about it. And gosh dang it, I did just that. And the team was like, heck yeah, we're making a new Darkin super awesome weaponry, please tell us what it is, we must know. Champion roadmap teasers? I'm not gonna be that cruel today. The weapons are like the coolest part about Darkin after all. So this one was actually entrapped in a dagger, which is now a Darkin dagger, of course, because that's how that works. And here's what it looks like. Ooh, so edgy, so
Puede
dark.
estar chulo, tío. Puede estar
And
chulo.
as to who or what got a hold of these daggers, well, you'll just have to wait and find out. Another thing a lot of people have been asking to see progress
Parece que el
on
diseño
is
puede
the
estar bastante
Ari
chulo.
update that we announced at season start. Well, the ASU team has been hard at work and is ready to share some art, like the final composition.
Oh, van a actualizar el visual de Ari, completamente
The
necesario.
base
Me parece
version
chulísimo. Muy
is
puede
close
quedar.
to complete, and the team is super excited to show you some of the progress on how she's looking in-game.
Vale, bien.
Look at all those sweet polygons.
Se
And
ve
here's a
bastante bien.
sneak peek of her updated VFX.
Vale.
Ari still has a ton of skins that also need to be updated, so she still needs a little more time in the Foxfire oven before we can get her in your hands. But you can expect to see her sometime early next year. One small to expand on Ixtal. We've also heard you asking for us. I'm happy from
El
Ixtal.
hechicero masculino.
Alice's Kiana grew up in. So adorable. Well, that's enough cuteness for now. So season.
I'm Matthew Long Harrison, aka Riot Froxon, lead game designer on the Summoner's Rift team, durability update and items, in preseason.
Estás bien.
I've got a few things to cover today, so let's jump right into it. A few patches ago, we launched the Champion Durability Update. Our goal was to increase the durability and reduce the damage and healing.
Esto es mentira. El daño sigue siendo bastante explosivo. La curación de ciertos campeones ha disminuido y de otros ha crecido bastante. Y no sé, a mí me parece un poco el meta mierda, la verdad.
Monitoring the results, and after some targeted adjustments, we're really happy with where the update landed.
Pues no sé qué
A
buscan.
lot of you have mentioned
realmente.
how much you like the update, and that it feels good to have fights last longer with more chances for skill expression. And we're glad that it helped make League feel fresher. That said, we don't have plans to make changes of this size outside of preseason in the future, unless it's really necessary. What we don't want is for huge changes like this to disrupt League's competitive integrity, especially in the middle of the season. Speaking of which, let's talk about our plans for preseason.
Oye,
Similar to last year, we're making more targeted changes to various systems.
no.
Our multi-year goal
Venga.
is to bring everything in League up to
Sí.
modern standards before doing updates on the scale of Runes Reforged, Elemental Rift, or the item update again. So for this preseason, we're updating systems including communication and vision, making the jungle more exciting and accessible, and bringing back a familiar foe.
Que no, coño. Deja el cable. Venga, tira, mira.
Our communication system is showing its age, especially in comparison to some of our other games. So we're giving it some much needed attention with new features that'll make it easier to communicate with your team and walk away with the win. To that, we're expanding our in-game ping system to allow for better communication with your team.
Me parece una mierda eso ya
The
de
current
primeras.
system only lets you
El
share
sistema de lenguaje de juego está muy bien para el solo queue de Challenger, pero el resto es pura mierda, porque ya
We
veis.
wanted to give you more opportunity for clearer communication. The updated pings will include everything you already know and love, plus expanded vision options and a call to engage. We're also thinking about ways to emphasize pings with teammates, plan macro strategy for objectives, and keep track of where pings are on the map, even if they're off your screen. In addition to the changes to communication, we're making some small improvements to the vision system, as it's a bit outdated. It's not super clear that you can swap vision trinkets, and it's definitely not clear how you can best utilize them. To that, we're exploring ways to make vision trinkets more intuitive. You'll be able to see how many wards you have on the map,
Eso está genial.
and preview
Eso sí
where
que me
they'll
parece
go when placing them in walls.
un buen cambio. Vale, mejoras a la jungla, aunque van a
Another
ser
focus this
nerfeos
year
realmente.
is the jungle. We know it's often a highly stressful role where you need heaps of knowledge to be baseline proficient.
Buenas MC, estoy
There's
aquí
a lot
viendo un
riding on
vídeo
junglers,
en directo.
as they're often the backbone of the team's strategy, while sometimes getting unjustly flamed.
De los cambios que va a haber
So
en la
we're looking
temporada
to
que
make some
viene.
changes to make jungling more intuitive, and to help alleviate some of its more painful parts. Our first change is improving buff sharing. Donating buffs to your laners is an important part of being a jungler.
Cómo que dar mejoras a la línea es algo muy importante. Venga, cómame los
Donating
huevos.
buffs to your laners is an important part of being a jungler.
Que el Miss se te lleve el blue en cada puta jugada no es worth it, coño.
We're exploring a bunch of things to make this more painless to junglers, like buffs leaving behind a little friend that also has a buff, and a few other potential directions.
No sé si viste que retrasaron a 2023 el juego de Harry Potter. Bueno, de Harry Potter.
Sí, de Hogwarts Legacy, sí. Bueno, no me sorprende, a ver, si lo están currando. Casi prefiero que salga un buen juego a que salga todo lleno de bugs y sea una mierda. Vale.
You shouldn't have to know exactly what pixel to stand on to do red buff and raptors at the same time without one resetting. So we're making changes that will make it less punishing when that happens. We know some junglers like to hyper-optimize their clears, and we want that knowledge to be rewarded. We'll still keep unique, optimal clears for different champions, like Kayn starting raptors and Shaco doing whatever it is he does. All this said, we're not trying to make mastering jungle easier, but we do want to make it easier to start jungling. We still want you to be rewarded for taking the time to master your role and champions. There are some other improvements we're exploring,
no me fío de nada de las
but
palabras
it's
de
still
este
too
pavo,
early
tío.
to share more. So
Como
we'll
para
check
decir
back
que
in.
la jungla va a quedar mejor para la gente que está empezando en la jungla. La jungla va a ser una mierda mientras sea el objetivo de flameo de todas las líneas y ya está.
It's the long-awaited return of everyone's favorite Drake, the Chemtech Drake.
A ver,
While we're bringing Chemtech Drake back from the dead, she won't bring you back from the dead anymore. Instead, the new and improved Chemtech Soul grants more damage and damage reduction when you're low health. And when the
Hostia.
Chemtech Drake takes over the Rift,
Vale, le van a quitar lo de volverse, bueno, lo del zombie. ¿Y qué van a hacer? Van a meter un aumento de daño y reducción de daño cuando menos vida tengas.
plants on the map mutate and become
Eso
empowered.
no sé yo si será tan bueno,
For
la
example,
verdad.
Scry's Bloom will grant movement speed
Bueno,
when moving
sí,
towards
te hace
the
meter
field
un
enemies,
ostión
and Blast
espectacular
Cone
cuando
will take you
estás en
further than
Madrid.
ever before, like from Blue Buff.
Hostia, ahora la piña va a hacer que lance
We
más
still have other plans for
largo,
preseason,
tío.
including the usual updates and tweaks to items and
Claro, tipo, bueno, si quieres mírate mi directo y flipa con el rango que te quieren meter para la piña, tío. ¿Estás?
Ah, espérate, un segundo. Hola.
Increíble. Buenas, Pichifriki.
Oli.
Ando en directo.
Okis.
A ver, estoy.
¿Estás? Vale. Vale, lo voy a poner ahora,
Blast
tío, más o
Cone will
menos.
take you further
Me
than
parece
ever
un animalado lo que
like from Blue Buff.
saltó aquí el puto Gragas. Fíjate, fíjate.
We still have other plans for preseason, including the usual updates and
Hostia.
tweaks to items and
Es
raids.
demasiado, tío.
And we'll share more information
Para
about our
gankear,
plans for these
Free
and
ganqueo.
everything
Literalmente
we
es un
discuss
puto
today as we
ganqueo.
get close to preseason.
¿Estáis jugando normal?
That's all I have today.
No,
Thanks for watching, and let
Estamos
us know
viendo
what
un
you think
vídeo
about everything you heard. I'll
de
hand
LoL.
things back to Reef to say goodbye.
Thanks, Roxanne. So as you can see, we have a lot of exciting things in development.
¿cómo me apoya? Yo creo que van a hacer unos cambios de mierda. A ver. Reward visual Ari, que ya vimos. Así que pasamos a esto, que también pasamos. Aquí básicamente total. Actualización de Neko Syndra, vale. Va a haber un cambio visual en Neko y Syndra. Nuevo Toppling y un asesino al estilo de este de Atrox, Varus y todo este de armas sagradas. Y ya está. Listo, pasamos al siguiente. No dieron más información, ¿verdad? No. Y actualización visual de Fizz. Vamos a ver cómo queda.
¿Sabéis que Simon está en cola para jugar al LoL?
Pues dile que si quiere echamos. Y es bueno entrar al LoL, la verdad. Oh, está bastante más chula, sí. Mía, por favor, deja de morder el cable. ¿Qué te cuesta, tío? De verdad. Mírame, por favor, mírame. No quiero que muerdas el cable, por favor.
Pero, ¿el cable de qué? ¿Eso era un cable valioso?
Sí, casi cualquier cable que hay aquí ahora mismo es valioso, entonces
Yo
mejor
perdí
que no.
unos 200 euros en cables comidos con la perra.
Básicamente es el multipuerto USB que funciona y no lo quiero perder.
Yo perdí 2 cascos, una... ¿Cómo se llama? Un cargador de ADS y un cargador del móvil.
Madre mía. Mira, mira, mira. Este es el gatiño. Y bueno, las animaciones de Fizz están bastante bien, la verdad. Aunque estoy pasando un poco porque está aquí el gato intentando llamarme toda la atención, pero bueno.
Vuelvo en un rato, chicos.
Sin fallo.
Untied laces, yeah. Just tripping on day